So first, I want to welcome each and every one of you. Some of you are first timers. Some of you have been here before. Rocky is a repeat offender. You know, that's what I call our folks. We're offenders because we love artwork, and some of us love artwork more than others. Some of us got a little problem we try to work out. So I'm really Crystal. So, but I'm happy to have you guys with us. So let me just say this. Last week we had Curly Holton. This week we are honored to have Michael C. Gibson as our guest. Michael joined us last week. So Michael and Rocky, we remember each other from last week. So yesterday we lost a legend in the African-American art genre. I think it shocked me when I first found out about it, and I just don't know. I think it's taken a lot of people off, because within the last 4 weeks we have lost huge figures in the African American art space, and that's a big hit. We've lost 2 legends. We've lost David C. Driscoll. And we've lost Eugene Phoney, who is an art dealer, an art enthusiast, and art expert in his own right. We've lost Ron Witherspoon, and yesterday we lost Louis Delsart. So I'd like to take just a couple of minutes as a moment of silence, because that kind of artistry and giftedness, once it leaves here, you don't have it other than their work. So what they left for us is their work. So we could take about a minute or 2 of silence just to, wish them a peaceful journey and to thank God for their time on this planet. 2 minutes, then we can get started. Okay. So Dee has joined us. I think she's on mute, but she's also joined us. So let me just share with you guys. I got show and tell tonight. Woohoo! Woohoo! So as many of you know that I am an active collector, active in that, Veronica, when I say I'm gonna give it a rest and not get anything else, and something comes up, Crystal shaking her head at me, something comes up. I was in an auction yesterday for half the day. The lot that I was interested in was lot 336, and there were 350 lots, Veronica, in the auction. And it was just the reason that the one that I was interested in was at the end, towards the end. So I spent half the day waiting for that lot. And I was successful. There was someone gunning for me, and they lost, Hancock. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna let you get this one. But then I said, if they hit this button one more time, that button was, my finger was kind of like, okay, so we're gonna stop it. But I wanted to share with you a couple of things. And the one thing that I wanted to share with you is today, for all of those people that may be listening in the cosmos, I had a half a day off from work. I didn't do anything on work time. I took the half a day. And I actually went to my conservation specialist to pick up two pieces that I've been able to acquire um, from an via auction a few months ago. The reason why I wanted to share those is because they're both in pencil, and our guest artist does the majority of his work in pencil. And so I wanted to share some legends and masters work with you guys. This one, and it's still in plastic, so I'm gonna put it really close. Okay. This piece is a sketch or drawing, if you will, by Charles Austin. And so, Rocky, you might want to look up Charles Austin, okay? Mm-hmm. He's an African American master. He used various mediums for his work, for his paintings and drawings, but this one is in pencil. And actually, this piece was in really kind of rough shape, in that because of the age, the paper, Michael, kind of had some wear to it, but I have a phenomenal, and if you can see the artist's name right there, I have a phenomenal conservation specialist who did some fantastic work. All of the toning that was here is now gone, right? So fantastic work there. And here's another piece that I picked up today, and this is in the original frame. Can you guys see that?
Uh-huh.
This is Richmond Barthay.
Okay.
This is a drawing of a portrait of George Rubenau by Richmond Barthay. And if any of you know anything about Richmond Barthay, his primary medium is sculpting. He's a sculptor. He's an African-American master sculptor, but he's done some work in pencil and graphite. So this is a rare find. And again, in the linen, the frame, the only thing we had to work on was the actual piece, and that was very light. Just wanted to spray it so the charcoal wouldn't spread, that we can contain it. And this is a linen mat that was in really, really good shape considering the age of the piece, and this is the original frame, right? So I just wanted to share with you guys how powerful the medium is of pencil. So I'm really, when I see phenomenal work in pencil, I get sucked in. And so I wanted to share with you guys the work, one of the pieces that I have in my collection of Michael C. Gibson, who is our guest for this evening. The name of this piece is called Dragonfly. And so Leonard, I see you smiling.
Yeah, I like it.
And here, don't you like it? So what gets me about Michael C. Gibson, right? So I'm gonna love on Michael a little bit. He's gonna be like, "Oh Lord, here she go." What gets me about Michael?
I'll try to bear up under it.
Okay. So what gets me about Michael C. Gibson, Rocky? Do you see this? So when you look at this, what does it look like to you? You on mute. When you first look at it, what does it look like to you?
Some sort of water flower.
Right, it's dragonfly. It's the name of it's dragonfly, so it's a dragonfly. But to me, when I first looked at this, it looked like a photograph.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you ever get a chance, Rocky, hopefully one day you'll get a chance to come to my house, and excuse the reflection, but if you look at it, it looks like a photograph. So my first work by Michael was a piece called Yoga Pose. And oh my God, if you could see this work, it reminded me of a photograph, but his attention to detail and the definition of the muscles and the light was just astounding to me. Everyone that comes and sees the collection, Veronica, and you know this, they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, What's so great about that? And I literally tell them to go up on the glass. That is not a photo. I said, okay, watch your breath on the glass, but go up on the glass. It is actually not a photograph, but it is actually a drawing. And people, once they get that in their mind, is fantastic. I have another piece of his, and I'm going to turn it over to him. He is featured. I think 2 of his works are featured in my book, the book of my collection. Woo-hoo-hoo. Most of the people on here have it. He's featured in this book, and one of the pieces was Yoga Pose, and the other piece I think was Watching and Waiting, and that is one of his reflective works. So Rocky, and I'm looking a lot at Rocky because all of these other people know how I get down. But if you want to see something phenomenal, that reflective work of Michael C. Gibson will have you slapping yourself, trying to figure out how he did that. He is a truly gifted artist, truly gifted. And so that is my wonderful way of introducing to you guys one of my absolute favorite artists, period. Not masters, not contemporary, just one of my favorite artists, and that is Michael C. Gibson. So Michael, woo-hoo!
Thank you.
Amen. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome. And so here's my first question for you. You ready?
Ready?
How did your journey in the arts begin?
Okay, well, like a lot of artists, it was not the first thing I wanted to do, it was the second thing I wanted to do. First thing I wanted to do as a kid was to be a pilot. And you know, I got a chance to ride on the Concorde, you know, and went over to England. And back then, you could actually, when you were a kid, they would take you into the cockpit before the plane took off and let you sit in the cockpit, and they give you these little wings and everything you stuck on your chest and stuff. So that was the first thing I wanted to be. And then the second thing I wanted to be was an artist. And that was about at 6, 7 years old. And that's always what I wanted to do. I started off getting attracted to comic books and collecting comic books as a kid, and looking at the art in comic books. And then it just took off from there. Started making my own comics and stuff like that. And it just continually grew from there and got encouragement as I got older, and was able to go to art school in my area. Here, I'm in Canada, Toronto, Canada. So the best schools are here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to go to high school and get a really great art education in high school at a local art school, which they taught us everything from ceramics, photography, lithography, etching, life drawing, object drawing, animation, graphic design. We got all that type of art education, art history, textiles, sculpture. So we got all of this art education in high school. And from there, I developed a portfolio and got accepted to the best art school in this country. So, and then after that, I started going out into the world, started my own little company, and started doing my art on the side, doing graphic design and illustration full time, and doing my fine art on the side. So that's kind of my story.
So you mentioned Toronto. So you and your family are in Canada?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was born 2 hours west of here, right? If you picture where Detroit is, right along the border.
Mm-hmm.
London, Ontario is about the halfway point between Toronto and Detroit. It's actually a very rich area in terms of Black history. If you are familiar with the Underground Railroad, that
Mm-hmm.
came right through close to where I was born, up in Dresden, and a number of these other areas were Black freehold areas. Uncle Tom's Cabin, what we now know as Uncle Tom's Cabin, is just not too far from where I live, maybe 30 miles from where I live. And so the Underground Railroad came right up through my hometown, and all around that area were little free towns where Black folks came up and lived. Mhm.
Okay. So what drives you as an artist? I mean, what makes you, how do you kind of, you know, Curly yesterday talked about, I mean, last week talked about the divine, and he talked about getting in that space. How do you get in that space? What helps you to get in that space?
Um, Curly and I agree. I
Mhm.
think that creating art is a form of spiritual expression. I think that that has to do with the divine. I think it has to do with expressing your experience and in your culture. And I think for me, you know, creating art is it's a number of things. It's not just one thing. Um, it's a spiritual expression. It's a form of prayer and meditation. It's a form of self-discovery. It's a form of uh, cultural communication and documentation. It's all of these things together.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And as I get older and as I mature, um, the more that those ideas are reinforced. I think when I was younger, it was more about the craft, right? The craft of being really particular and being really honest about the craft of actually image making.
Mhm.
And as I get older and as I, you know, continue in my art practice and develop my craft further, it's it's not as much about the craft anymore as it used to be. When I was younger, it's like, okay, hey, yeah, I'm gonna knock this out the park, and now it's more about the spiritual connection
Mhm.
that I'm able to make with people who I will never meet, right? So I'm understanding more as I mature about what art making is beyond the physical aspects of the art. So I'm starting to now create art that is, how can I say it? What I'm trying to do is to capture what you can't see,
Mhm.
right? The spirit of a person, the atmosphere of the environment, the emotions, the thoughts of people or a particular object. And that's much, much harder to communicate rather than to just draw a flower or to sit down and draw a person. It's the essence of a person is something that you can't see. It's something you could experience. It's something you could feel. But how do I translate that into a two-dimensional surface to get you to understand who this person is, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they've experienced, and so forth. Yeah.
So as you get older, you talked about as you get older, and you talked about the craft.
Mhm.
Do you notice where your giftedness or your ability, your expression changes as you get older, or as you are in this place longer?
Yes, yes. What I've noticed is, as an artist, um, I trust the process a lot more than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it might sound weird. My work is very technical, so you'll say, "Well, I don't see how he's looser or how things have changed,"
Mm-hmm.
but um, I'm a lot looser than I was before, and I trust the process way more than I ever have. And I see myself evolving more that way. I see myself opening up and drawing things that are far more personal,
Mm-hmm.
making a lot more political and emotional statements that I did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let me just stop right here. So I'm seeing some crazy little thing on my screen. I don't think you guys are seeing it on yours. So we're gonna keep going. If something happens and goes out, we're gonna try to get all of our questions in. But I don't know. I'm looking at this that never popped up before. But it never popped up before. So now all of a sudden it's popping up. I'm like, what in the world? Okay, your primary medium is pencil, right? Occasionally I see mixed media where you've included some watercolor, but your
Yeah.
primary medium is pencil. What is it about that particular medium that is so dominant for you?
For me, I think, when you talk about art, the fundamental building block and the actual skeleton of art is drawing. So whether you're a sculptor, whether you're a painter, whether you do other visual mediums, the one thing that every artist should learn how to do well in order to progress to do other things is drawing. And so I have fallen in love with just the challenge of drawing. And I find that the challenges of doing it just never gets old for me. That's number one. Number two, for me, it's the way that I naturally want to express myself. I've tried watercolor painting, as you said. I've done acrylics, oils. I've done a lot of exploration early on in my art career to find out where my voice would be, and I always came back to drawing. And so I just said, hey, I'm not going to fight it. This is naturally how I want to choose to express myself. And so I just decided, hey, I'm not going to force myself to go in other places, even though, there's more money selling oil painting, or there's more. This is just naturally where I know I belong. And at times when I feel like it, I'll pick up a brush and do other things. But for the most part, I feel very confident and comfortable with continuing to explore my expression through just using drawing mediums.
Two more and I'm done. This is real quick.
Okay.
So what are you? What artists? Who are the artists that speak to you? I already know the answer to this, but
you already know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that captivate your eye, that takes you to dynamic place. I already know the answer, but this is for everyone else. Who is that artist?
Well, as you know, I could spend the next 2 hours talking about Charles White. For me personally, he's at the top of the mountain. That's the guy that I try to chase. And, in my mind, if I can have a tenth of the impact and be such a successful tactician in image making, I would be successful. So for me, if you ask me, what's the one artist, if you take one out of the entire world, the one artist that you would want to have, it's not even close as far as I'm concerned, is Charles White, hands down. But there are, of course, like artists, there's lots of artists out there that I love, and you take little bits from different artists. There's a lot of just phenomenal African-American artists around right now. I think we're in a real wonderful time in African-American and Black art in general. Right. There's so many great artists out there now that are really doing some great work. And it's really inspiring to be at this time where we can also very easily access art. But anyway, Charles White, for me, number one, hands down.
So here's my last question. So if someone if a collector, beginning or novice or experienced collector wanted to acquire your work, where could they see and acquire your work? From where?
You can always look at my work on michaelcgibson.com. That's the website. It's going to be refreshed here soon. You can follow me on Instagram, same thing, Michael C. Gibson. So I'm posting probably every day, every other day. And what's great about Instagram now is you can see the progress and you can purchase right off of Instagram. Got the PayPal account hooked up there. If you see something you like, you can just DM me and say, hey, is this one still available? Everything on my Instagram account is for sale. And the cool thing about it is you can see the progress of the work as things go along. Yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me.
Wonderful. So Michael C. Gibson, you guys, And he is one of the artists featured in my book. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys got to meet him up close and personal. Are there any questions for him? Any?
I have a question.
Sure.
It's about it's something I struggle with a lot. It's just because like when you mentioned Charles White, I was like, oh, I love Charles White, and then I just Googled him real quick and like was instantly just like moved by like a couple of the images, and like, you know, I feel like I'm still in a place where I'm like just being all technical about things. You know, it's just like, how do you? I mean, I like use oil paint, or like I'm trying to now. But it's like I don't know. It's just like, how do you sort of like keep faith in terms of like not really like, am I a real artist, but like I don't know. It's weird. It's like, how do you get your like I guess just like, yeah, how do you like keep faith in yourself in terms of like you know, you're working and like you working on this thing, like you're trying to make this image, but I don't know, you want it to move people the way like work has moved you, you know?
I think I'm understanding your challenge, and I think what you're struggling with. We all struggle with this as artists, and that is, you have an image in your mind that you're trying to create. You have an idea in your mind that you're trying to create. And then there's a couple of components that go with that. So you have this idea, and then you have to have the technical ability to execute that idea, right? So that's step one. Then step two is you have to have the confidence